we've been trying to bring some car into the country for a while. Sky.
You still not clear that.
Sky. Initially, we paid the duty. We were told to pay the duty when they sent us something to fill. You know that thing that you fill with the cars. We paid it earlier, and the car was supposed to come in second week of April.
Second week of April.
As announced, the car still hasn't come because apparently the ship had to go to Togo before some other ship from Nigeria will come and take the container and bring it to Tema. I didn't know that this is how the thing was. And then we also were told to pay the duty early to lock in some exchange rate, something. Charlie, it's not busy. And as I'm thinking, the thing hasn't come. So now I'm told that the container is in Lome and that the ship.
You are tracking.
So now they say the thing, there's some ship from Lagos will pass through Lome and bring the thing to Tema. As we are sitting here, since 12 April, what's today's date? 5th May. The container hasn't even come.
Why was it containerized or it was put on a rural?
I don't know. Maybe I should call the cheapest people and ask them.
You should have consulted me. Now you are
I think you were writing your paper at school. You were busy. You were busy. It was around March.
Oh, forgive me.
You were busy writing papers. Charlie, so right now they say the ship is in, because when you mentioned demurrage, so ours is not a demurrage issue because we have sort of.
It's not arrived yet.
Yeah, and it is delayed. I didn't know that they did throttle on ship. I didn't know that they did that.
It depends on how the shipping was done and which shipping line was used, and whether that shipping line comes directly to Accra, which is the Tema port, or maybe Takoradi port, as the case may be.
They told us it would come 12 April.
But normally if you ask for the complete breakdown, they will tell you whether it is coming directly to you or it will pass through a number of ports. Because of course, some of the ports then serve as stopovers for some of the ships, and then also, as the person may have indicated to you, they would move your physical, cargo and put it on another ship to be able to bring it to you in Accra. So some of these details will be necessary.
So you say it's Roro and what are the two different ones?
You can put the car just like that on board the ship, right?
Straight.
Yeah, that's right.
No, it's in a container. I think it's part of a container.
That for a fact.
Because when we track, they said the container is at Lome. The container.
Okay.
So it means they added it to a bunch of other things.
Yeah, so then maybe a group of people would have come together to ship a particular thing together, or the person shipping decided that agent. Okay, he will ship for you, ship for Godfred, and ship for myself together with your goods
and put all together.
Container. So
but why did he go to Lome?
So it depends on the arrangement.
Or he chose a ship that goes to Lome and didn't tell us. I want to know if I can see.
It's transiting through Lome.
Charlie, because why do you? And today is 5th May. That thing still not come.
Yeah, so I'm sure maybe it's on this way. It's on this way.
But why didn't he tell me there was something called Roro? So that I will even know.
When was the last time you tracked it?
Even yesterday.
Yesterday,
indeed, it kept changing. So initially they said it was 12 April. Then they said end of April. Then they even said it would come on Friday. And then we check now. They say it has still not left the Lome port.
Oh, then there's
Charlie.
Keep you.
Be serious, though.
Yeah, but they say is your container is likely on a transshipment cargo.
Basically, that's
no. What I want to know is that did the person do me chobo or not? Why? I want to know if I should sue the guy.
No, what is the damage here? First of all,
what do you mean by the damage?
Like
it's delaying. It's delaying my time. It's delaying me.
Then your time to do what?
But I have plans.
Yes.
Okay. But the thing that I need it for a specific period of time.
So yeah.
Are you telling me that? Are you as a judge, a lawyer? Are you telling me that if my time is delayed, I can't sue?
No. What I'm saying is, first of all,
I'll change you. I'll choose a new lawyer. Lawyer, can with him answer. I'm looking for a new lawyer.
First of all, if the agreement states explicitly that you were supposed to receive on a particular date and it did not come, and the person doesn't have some really good reason, maybe force majeure, something happened, the ship got affected in one way or the other, which was not contemplated at the time of signing the contract, then you can properly say that, okay, you can give me some compensation or give me some damages. But really, in this particular case, what's the damage?
But why did they tell us that the ship will come on the 12th of April? if they knew that it was doing transshipment. They should have told us that it is 12th of April plus or minus 30 days.
Normally, that's what they would check.
Because what if I had taken a certain action on them? So let me give you an example. I'm importing a car. Let's assume I went to sell my car to Susu on the basis that if the car comes 12th of April, quarter by end of April, I can have a new car. So I go and sell my car to Susu and use the money to pay school fees. Then the car that's supposed to come 12th of April, today is 5th May, school is European, I don't have a car.
Yeah, well,
You have to put a case and sue for me. As you're telling me,
Inconvenience allowance.
so there are two things here. So we have to distinguish respectfully between what is economic loss,
yes,
and what is pure economic loss. If those factors are really at
both of them have been occasioned.
well,
Because you have first I went to find money
Yes.
to pay for the clearing
Yes.
because you wanted me to lock in the exchange rate. Then you didn't tell me that was this rural matter. Now I go the thing go to Togo at the city every time they check in no come. Then you are telling me that economic loss and pure economic. What is this?
well, the law is that pure economic loss is not recoverable.
Charlie. This doesn't make sense to me.
You see, this
And
one.
that's why you ought to have talked to me.
But you were in Oxford writing some paper.
That's
Every
okay.
time I call you, are not answering, you are not minding me. So I went to do the thing and you're telling me I should have told you. When they call you, pick. You don't know why I'm calling you. Now, because I know
You know what's crazy?
It's a serious thing.
You know what, Sky, this one there, you have to apologize. You didn't even call back.
No, you see,
And the thing is that
You didn't even call back.
Sky knows a bit about these things. So usually you can ask him that, oh, Charlie, I'm importing something. What should I do and things.
Yeah, man.
Then you see there, now the thing has happened. You are telling me
Jaffy are not
that
to the
a pure
world.
economic
But what I
loss.
say, Sky didn't even call back. That's why
I'll
he
change
didn't
it.
try.
I'm going to get a new lawyer. You're not even serious.
Yes. Application for new lawyer.
You're not even serious.
Vacancy.
I'm going to change you.
Brother, you know,
Because I don't pay you commercial rates. You treat me like
brother, don't please say commercial rate. Whatever I do to you, you know, brothers,
yes,
nothing
it's
matters.
because I'm a friend, so you don't treat me seriously. If it was your client who called you that he was importing a car that you need to help him, would you have been writing that paper? But because I don't have money, so look how you are treating me. Now you say Roro.
Roro, body Roro.
Have you heard of Roro before? Caleb, do you know what Roro is?
Roro, I know, he's a music producer.
Serious, but on the more serious note, Sky, it's serious. And this is my
I think
point.
we are laughing over
Our
this.
port must be efficient. I don't even blame our port. This is nothing to do with our port. This has to do with shipping.
Yeah.
Because the thing hasn't even reached our port. Okay. I also think we need to demystify the whole exporting. You see how I use an agent because the whole thing is intimidating and I don't have time. It's the same thing. That's what we do with driver's license and things. The whole thing becomes boomerang. So you go and get an agent to do it for you. Now they don't even give you all the details. Now you are hot.
Brother, they say you should check your bill of lading also, because those details must have been there.
I've gone to school. At least I can read.
Yes.
The expected date
Yes.
of arrival was 12 April.
Okay.
And they didn't tell me that it would go to Lome. It's now that I found out the things in Lome cooling off, waiting for something in Nigeria.
You know that the Ofanko and Sawam Road was supposed to have finished last year. Now they say 15 MEMS. So the whole thing
Caleb,
spoiled.
get serious.
No, I'm very serious. The road in delay 15 months.
Sorry, you're saying what? The what?
The Ofanko Pokwasi Road.
What's the new date?
No, they said the contractor says they will need between 12 months to 15 months to complete it.
So what was the original expected completed date?
The original one was sometime last year. Around last year, we were told that it was 50% complete, and that by I'll get you that detail quickly. But you really around July last year should have been done. Then it was postponed to this year. Now the contractor is telling us that they are expecting, they want an extension because the litigation issues still persist.
So when do they expect the road to be finished?
They are saying they need 15 months
From now?
Yes, for the issues to be resolved. That
So
means
today
that
is May 2025.
Yes.
So 15 months is 3 months plus 1 year. So that's June, July, August. August 2026.
and that means that if the
Wow.
litigations that are still
Are you
persisting
serious?
are not resolved within that period, it still wouldn't be done.
So 2026 August, before they finish the Ashimota of Ankoro.
Precisely.
15 months.
And that's the road is costing people a
See,
lot
you
of
see, see
stress.
the point he's making. So you see, it's about, and Caleb, thanks for raising this. It's about planning, expectations, and all these things. When projects delay, it becomes more expensive for all of us involved. All right, I'm not sure it's the same comparable example, but anyway. So let's do tech and social media trends, and then maybe after the show, I'll give you the thing to follow up for me.
Check your social media
Can you
trends.
do it for me?
Well, why not? I mean, you are my brother.
want
I don't do it to
I want
collect.
you to write a letter to the company and threaten them for me. Threaten them with a court suit. Threaten them. Now we are going to Supreme Court.
I have instructions of my client.
We have no reason.
I want to go to Supreme Court straight.
We start from
Charlie, I didn't have football. My lucky rough. You don't know.
I better pick it. I better pick it.
There's more money I have to. I think go pay for the duty. The cat they come.
No, but the dollar too is coming down.
But it's good.
That was even annoying. When I paid, the dollar was 15.9. Now the dollar is 14.3.
Yeah, but you see, that's the good thing about
Can't you
it.
go for a
What
refund?
if, it had come and then the dollar had
It went
come?
up.
And the difficulty is that if you don't pay in good time, it's confiscated to the state.
sad.
Before you know it, somebody will be driving it with the back. They will write something.
Wow.
Because he's gone to get it on auction.
Oh God.
And he's a member of the party somewhere in the Sojama conference.
This is so sad. This is so
Party
sad.
chairman.
Yeah.
You see your car, you won't do anything about it.
The whole transporting goods from one African country to another is a very, very big discussion that we must have. Because not to overstretch my issue, but I suspect that because there isn't a lot of cargo between, say, Lagos and Accra, if a ship is even going to come, they may have to wait for a longer period of time because most of the things people send from Ghana to Nigeria and vice versa are transported by road. So there isn't a lot of production arrangement between the two countries. Do you follow the logic? So there's a lot of shipping traffic from China into the Middle East through Europe to Africa. China through the eastern coast, through Southern Africa to Point Noir and then to West Africa. From the US to West Africa. But there isn't, so I remember 10 years ago or so, I was at a program in Tema where a gentleman launched a shipping line which would essentially do shipping across the West African coast. All right, so maybe from Dakar, then you come down to Abidjan, then you come to Accra, Lomé. I don't think there's enough of that. Partly because there isn't a lot of goods moving between the two countries. Most of the manufactured goods we are using, we are getting it directly from the West or from China. So that probably explains why a ship from Nigeria to Accra hasn't taken off, because maybe they are waiting to get, do you understand, to get more. So I'm probably suffering from a bigger shipment conversation, a bigger shipping conversation.
But normally, the shipper would have explained to you that because of ABCD, they are unable to do direct shipment. Mm-hmm. So then transshipment or the trot style of shipping would then have to intervene so that you eventually get what you ordered. I think if that explanation was given to you based on what you are telling me, if that was available, then perhaps you would have asked that the destination port or port of destination should be Togo. Mm-hmm. In which case you clear it there from the Togo port, bring it to the Aplao border, pay the duty on it, and then drive it to Accra. Mm-hmm. You understand? So that could have been possible. Some people do that, so that instead of using Tema as a port of destination or Takrady as the same, you would have used Togo. You get it out of the port at Togo, do all the necessary paperwork, move to the Aplao border or the Akanu border as the case may be, and then
what's the difference between Aplao and Akanu? Why are they doing a new border? Do you know?
So the main crossing for goods and services per the arrangement with our West African neighbors is Akanu, which is not far away from Georgia, your paternal hometown. The two countries have worked on it together with the rest of West Africa to some extent to build a modern border which will receive goods coming in from the western side of Ghana.
The eastern, from western side of Ghana, exactly. Or the eastern side of Togo.
Exactly. So that is happening.
Is it functioning?
It is functioning.
Is that why they built that new road between Georgia, Tajepu, and Akachi?
Exactly.
That's why they built that road.
Yeah. So all the major trailers you see from Nigeria, Benin, in Niger, in some cases, you do know of the troubles in the Sahel area. Some of them are diverting, going through Benin and coming down. Yeah, they go through that part. Of course, they still use the Aplao border every now and then, but it's not as functional in terms of.
So the Aplao is now for human traffic.
Yeah, mainly. and then also lighter vehicles that are coming in from Lagos, Benin.
When
and,
I remember 1995, first time I ever went to Togo. At the time, I went to the market, Ashigami. It was massive, and they said a lot of things in Togo were cheaper. So those days, when I had people who would go to Togo and buy things and come and sell in Ghana, because apparently Togo had a cheaper pricing regime. I'm not sure people go and do that again. Do they still go? Is Togo port still cheaper? Is it a better place?
Oh yeah, I mean yes, I mean a lot, and you see that is also what is giving rise to smuggling.
Okay.
Because as I was telling you, so some people will bring the car using the Togo port and then sneak it into Ghana without paying the duty on it.
And that's some people also do.
Yeah, some people also do that. And then also there are other goods and services that people are bringing.
Which is why if you bring a car physically from Togo or Cote d'Ivoire, they put a tracker on it before they allow you to enter if you have not registered the car.
Yeah, so
because they don't want you to evade duties.
Exactly, and a lot of people are doing that. I do know that a customer.
Oh no, they are trying that. We don't know if they are succeeded in doing it.
No, I mean it's not. I'm not.
As in, they are beating the system.
Yeah, they do that.
Are you sure?
Yes, of course. I mean that's why the customs people, sometimes they're on the road, and when they get you, they will tell you that produce your documents. So then they will go into the system, and then determine whether or not you have paid duty to the state or not. If you have not paid it, they impound the vehicle and then surcharge you.
Let me ask you another question. Now that we are doing the public education, so assuming somebody ships a car from say US to Lome, but wants to use the car in Ghana, do they pay the Ghana duty at the border?
Yes.
So that's why there's customs there.
Yes. So the Ghana-Togo border, you pay the duty there.
So is it the same duty you? So but that means that if you register so the car comes to Togo, you pay the Togo duty first.
No, you don't pay the Togo duty. There are fees you may pay in Togo, but the comparative analysis is that getting goods through the Togo port, the fees are cheaper. So you will not pay duty to the Togolese government because you are not importing
into Togo.
Exactly. The goods are in transit. You understand?
So because the goods finalization in Ghana,
exactly,
you will pay at the border.
Yes.
The duty.
The Republic of Ghana.
And is that duty at the border, land border, the same as the duty at the port?
Yes, it should be the same thing. So they use the same matrix.
But the other charges that you pay at the port, do you pay at the border too? When you come to the port, there are all kinds of things you have to pay.
Yes, something levy, all kinds of.
They are all part of what you pay at the border too, because it's the same customs.
Yes.
You are sure?
Yes, to a large extent, unless I'm open to some, education on that though.
But why don't people go to Togo for goods anymore?
No, people go. I'm saying that people go,
but they smuggle it into Ghana.
It's. You see, the problem is that the closure of the border by the Nanado administration has killed economic life generally along that stretch.
Okay.
Because people were selling fish, all kinds of things to people who came in from that side.
All right.
The closure of the border meant that they couldn't sell those things in the numbers they would have.
All right.
So you would have heard the Honorable Gubashi complain consistently about the apparent death of economic life along that corridor.
Correct.
It also meant that the numbers with which we went into Togo, Benin, and Nigeria to bring things in using the road also reduced or plummeted.
Okay.
It was only towards the end of the life of the government that they lifted the closure, which meant that by the time we could get things right, people had become so crippled. So it is important that we get back to that conversation because what was the case previously is no longer the case.
But don't forget that there was also a big discussion about how our ports had become less competitive. I remember when Dr. Baumia, in part of his analysis, said that they had to. I think when they were discussing what's the name of this thing? This valuation thing. I forget the name of the concept, but there was a whole discussion about.
Is it single window or what?
No. So it had to do with somebody should remind me. It was a discussion about the value of the value at which they would charge the duty. It was 2018, 2019. It was a big issue and the port people said that it was a wrong policy because they said that it gave us too high a duty to pay.
Okay.
I think they were saying that the government itself would determine how to value the vehicle. I think in the past, if you were bringing something to the country, the date you bought it and the certain value and the way they depreciate it was standardized. And then the government of Ghana decided to come up with a policy to determine their own valuation.
Okay.
That they would then calculate your port duty around. And I forget the name of the concept. Somebody should remind me. It was a big discussion in Ghana.
Okay.
And then it led to even good benchmark value. Benchmark value. And we are told that it led to, in fact, he managed the analysis and said that and other issues at the port at the time made our port less competitive. And they even analyzed and said that the Togolese port was more efficient than the Ghana port, and the Togolese port was not that expensive. Okay, and there was a whole discussion about why the benchmark value thing was a wrong policy. And I think indeed the government was forced to reverse that policy.
Eventually, yeah.
I think so. I think the government reversed that policy. So those who work at the port, please remind me, because it was a major issue. So my concern is we have a bigger economy than Togo, and yet people perceive Togo's port to be more competitive than our port. They perceive Togo's port to be more efficient than our port. And I don't know whether it's just because of the multiplicity of duties that are paid, or the fact that there's a certain arrangement that frustrates people. Because I remember I've been at programs where even the people who bring in petroleum products, they say our port is a bottleneck for them. I was at an event, I think in February, where the petroleum importers complained about the challenges the Ghana port poses for their business. And there are a number of businesses that complain about this. So it's not just the doctors who spoke to Caleb. There seems to be a certain view that the Ghana port has been set up to frustrate business. And this has nothing to do with my personal problem. Because my problem has nothing to do with the port. It's a shipment issue.
Yeah.
Okay. So maybe those who know these things can explain better why some people perceive the Togolese port to be more efficient than the Ghana port.
Yeah, but beyond the efficiency issues, another serious matter that has always been at play is the value of the cedi against the dollar.
Okay.
You know that in pricing how much you pay in duty terms, normally it is pegged on the basis of the dollar, and they use their own calculation as to what should be the exchange rate. So when the cedi collapses, it affects how much money you have to raise in order to get a US dollar to pay for the things you are importing into the country.
Yeah.
You cannot say the same of the Togo situation, because they have a fairly stable CFA franc, which is supported by France and what do you call it, the euro for that matter, because of some pegging that is normally done. So that is also another mix. That's factor in the mix, which you need to consider. Because the CFA franc is not the same as the cedi, which is, has had a free fall until recently, or if you like.
But you see therein lies the funny contradiction. So, on one hand, we in Anglophone West Africa, we think we are better than our Francophone neighbors because we are less dependent on the British economy. Our currencies are sovereign in the right sense. Okay, so the Ghanaian cedi, the Nigerian naira, the leone, and then the Sierra Leonean, the Gambian dalasi. Yet the francophone countries, we perceive that their economies are too tied to France, and yet in that relationship as UEMOA, they have a more stable macroeconomic environment generally, because they have lower inflation, and they have less exchange rate volatility, because there's a certain relationship between the Francophone CFA zone and the French currency.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, our currency has been depreciating for years. So I'm not sure if the argument between Ghanaians and the Francophone, we've won that argument. Because this point around volatility of currency, the stability of the Francophone currency makes their port more attractive. Do you understand my point? Because for us, the biggest thing is that the valuation of if you buy a car which is $50,000, $30,000, I mean, the amount of duty you have to pay and the way they calculate it. Now I'm told they don't use the benchmark value, but now they use the reference price.
The reference price, which is the price at which it is being sold from the manufacturer's line, or what?
I think they then do so maybe you bought a car at X amount, then they will do a certain depreciation of a percentage of the value of the car depending on the number of years you've used it. So maybe 30%, 50% or whatever, depending on some calculation. But obviously a better system than the benchmark value. Anyway, let Caleb do something, and then I'll probably need to get more education on this, since for some reason we've ended up here. I'll come back to the main issue I wanted to raise. And by the way, those who just tuned in, so the main thing troubling me today is what I call two separate political noises Kennedy Japong, Abronya on one hand, trading allegations and what we should do with it. Because guys, don't forget, if somebody's claiming that somebody got contracts worth almost $500 million, it's a big issue. Then the NDC as well, A+ allegations against AG, up and down. And the president of Ghana is launching a code of conduct for his officers. So I'm asking what we can do with that whole mix. But I'm using my personal problem to just deal with the port briefly. So, and I'm accusing Sky of not helping me.
Wrongly.
No, I'm not wrongly. You should have picked my call. Those of you who import things, is the Togo port better than the Ghana port?
Folks are saying it's no longer as cheap as it used to be.
Help me.
The goods in Togo aren't as cheap as they used to be. The problem being the city's depreciation against the CFA. I had wanted to buy a vehicle from that side, but my friend said things aren't the same any longer, citing the above reason. Even the number of people that do clothes businesses have reduced. Okay, good morning, team. 1,000 CFA has moved from around 10 cities to 25 cities in the past 4 years. It doesn't really make sense to buy items from Lome any longer. The value is nearly the same. Kwame from Aflau. Togo operates a free port system, so goods that land in Togo do not attract import duty. Consequently, people import cars to Togo and smuggle the cars to Ghana. Okay, so this one...
How do you smuggle a whole car into a country? How do you smuggle a whole car?
But if we are able to smuggle a car from Canada to...
Yeah, but if you smuggle the car into Ghana, how do you register it?
They have a way of doing it. Sometimes...
Then it's a criminal, it's an organized crime. Because you cannot smuggle a car into a country and duly register it, because it means you are robbing the state of duty.
Okay, so sometimes...
That's economic sabotage.
Sometimes, and sometimes what happens is they change the chassis number of the vehicle. So maybe there's a vehicle, maybe you are registering Toyota Corollas or so, blah, blah,
Maybe there's
blah.
an old one somewhere.
Got involved in an accident, it's been you cannibalize that term. Yeah. And then they remove the chassis number and then they bring in a different Corolla and use that chassis number, you understand, to replace that, take it to DVLA. And if there's no rigor in terms of scrutinizing what's happening, or maybe there's a way to get through the system, then that vehicle becomes registered. So ideally, if you go back to the DVLA, questions you arise. Why is the vehicle number, color different? Because you need permission to effect, those changes. Why does it look like this vehicle was manufactured, 5 years ago as opposed to 10 years ago when the car, was first registered? These questions ideally should be raised maybe by flagging some of the things in the system, but sometimes they get through and things like that.
So you're saying that if somebody smuggles a car into Ghana, they obviously need help from other people.
Yeah,
it's not as simple as evading the port authority.
No.
Because to get the chassis number, to even repaint, respray the car,
Yep.
I would be interested to know the situation with smuggling generally, because whether it's with textiles or with cocoa beans or with vehicles, every now and again we hear officials say that smuggling is a problem.
Yeah.
To be very interesting to know whether there's a smuggling tracker of some kind.
As for smuggling, a lot of economic, life depends on it.
So what are the main things that people smuggle? Obviously textiles.
Prints, like jeans.
So clothes.
Underwear, things like that. People
They want to avoid paying duty at the port.
That's right. They want to.
So they will bring it through a different country.
Exactly.
And then drive through some lungu and bring it into Ghana.
And,
Wow.
electronic gadgets considered to be cheaper in Togo. Things like that.
Benin is a popular hub.
What's
Nigeria.
the relation between the CD and the CFA? Do you know?
I don't know the latest numbers.
What is your concern?
No, I'm just trying to understand something. I mean, I won't smuggle in the car. No, I'm just trying to understand
In return,
the business.
our people smuggle, fuel into Togo.
Oh, people, why?
Because, first it's considered cheaper in Togo, and then also
What do you mean it's
Togo,
considered
for
cheaper
some
in
reason,
Togo?
the cost of fuel.
If it's cheaper, why are you smuggling to Togo?
It's
More
considered-
expensive.
Yeah, yeah.
So if you took fuel to Togo, you get more for it.
Yeah, forever. Yes.
So they smuggled. What about cocoa beans? They smuggled that one through.
Yes, as well.
Yes, as well.
Through Togo.
Okay. What about Cote d'Ivoire? Do they smuggle it into Cote
Yeah,
d'Ivoire?
like they survive cocoa beans depending.
But
on
I hear
what
they were
the
also
price-
smuggling fertilizer.
Yeah, depending. Yeah,
But the
depending on
cocoa
what
beans
the
are being smuggled through Togo, not to be used in Togo.
But to be
Obviously,
exported.
To be exported.
To avoid. So they smuggle our export goods through other countries
Yes.
to have.
Yeah.
But what's the sense in that? Because they get higher
You know,
price.
the port of Lome that he's describing, has a lot of strategic advantages, even in terms of location, as compared to us. Apparently,
Really?
It is the only port on this coast that has direct access to a lot of major cities in the same day.
Oh, global cities.
Continental.
Continental.
Sub-regional, sorry.
Okay.
But in the same day.
So maybe to say Ouagadougou.
And that's the point I was going to make. The landlocked three.
Burkina, Niger,
Mali basically run everything they do through the port of Lome.
Does Lome have a better road through their north than we?
I don't know the
Sky.
the state of the road infrastructure.
Sky, if you are going to Burkina Faso from Tema versus Burkina Faso from Lome, which one will be shorter?
Hey, Chale Loma, some of their routes are really solid.
You are sure?
Yeah, I mean, if you are going to Burkina Faso,
So let's say you have a container of cement, a truck of cement, and I need to send to Burkina Faso in a week.
Yeah,
Would you advise me to use Lome or Accra?
if
Not as a Ghanaian, as a
From where?
businessman.
From where?
So let's assume I'm importing cement from China, touch wood, but I'm importing cement from China to finish the Chinese embassy in Ouagadougou. So would they prefer to bring it through Tema and drive through Ghana to Ouagadougou, or they will take it through Lome and drive through?
I think with all factors considered, I think Togo would be a better choice.
Oh!
Yeah, and then
Oh!
also because look,
Oh!
for all the troubles that you have with Nyasingbe Yadima, one of the things he did was to ensure that the connection between Togo, Lome, and then the northern part of the country, the roads in fantastic shape.
So if you are driving from Lome to
Kara. Yeah, I mean, fantastic road. Fantastic.
You are sure?
Yeah. I mean, in many parts,
Okay.
largely. So
Oh.
it would be advisable to use.
But don't tell me Togo has better roads than us. That one I reject it.
Why
Why
would
you
We have more money than Togo. We are a richer country than Togo.
But he's just telling you that the port is even better. So if the port is better,
It's even
They have so many things wrong.
it's even
but
debatable.
many things.
the port's
very
even
right.
better.
Wait, calculate the distance between Lome and Ouagadougou, and then calculate the distance between Tema and Ouagadougou, and let me see something.
No, but
By road.
But the
Because I'm told the Ivorians they have a train that takes them to
but the
Ouagadougou. So after Cote
efficacy-
d'Ivoire, they are ahead of
the
us.
efficacy of the autonomous port of Lome is not anecdotal.
It is factual. Do you have
It's
it?
factual. I mean, if the level of investment, those who clear things will tell you and record that they are more efficient, they are faster. There's been a significant investment in making sure that it is modern, alongside the other things that have been built to it, added to make things work
But we have MPS
better.
now.
And here's the thing.
MPS terminal.
And here's the thing. I don't know how much our economy is linked to the Tema or Takoradi port, but 60% of Togo's economic activities is related to the
Port.
The port of Lome.
So they are more focused on
Yes,
the port.
if 60% of your economic activity is linked to one zone, you do pay attention to what happens there.
Okay, I have some numbers for you. So I used Google Maps. So they calculated the distance and the time it would take, and it says Lome to Ouagadougou should be faster, per what Google Maps is telling me.
Oh no.
Yeah, Google Maps is telling me that it's faster. It's about an hour faster. I can also
What
check.
about checkpoints? Because I'm told that yes, I've got them now. They say that Togolese they like doing checkpoints. So even though their road may be better, they have more police people on their road. They will frustrate you.
Yeah,
all of that into account before giving you the
So it says that if you are going from Lome to Ouagadougou, it will take you 15 hours and 44 minutes, and it will be 938 kilometers of driving.
Okay.
That's the fastest route. There's some tolls on the route. So the fastest way from Accra to Ouagadougou is 17 hours and 4 minutes. It's
Almost 2 hours more.
It's 980 kilometers, and according to this map, you have to pass on a ferry as well. So that will probably.
Oh, so
delay
they are
you
even
as
using the shortest route.
Yes.
They are using the Eastern Corridor.
Yeah, they're even adding some ferries and things.
So it means that if they use a motorway and they decide to use the Kumasi road,
that will be 17 hours and 56 minutes.
okay. What's the other place? Niger. So there are 3 countries: Bamako and Niger. So try Lome to Niamey, and then try
Let me do Accra to Niamey.
Accra to Niamey, and then let me see.
No, but for those three,
Togo is an advantage.
Togo is an advantage.
Is it the French?
Togo is an advantage for those 3.
So what
Accra to Niamey, you even have to go to Lome. The fastest route is to tell you to enter Togo and then go.
so Accra to Niamey is better to use Lome.
Yeah, because
From Lume there is
because basically it's telling you to enter Togo. You have to drive. into
Because
Togo.
Niger is on top of Nigeria.
Yeah,
Okay,
it's-
try Accra to Bamako.
Mali.
Yeah. Because I'm wondering what locals President Mahama is using to talk to the three. If so, you are saying that as a trade route, the three Sahel countries depend more on Togo than they do on Ghana generally.
Okay, Bamako. If you have to drive to
Bamako
Bamako,
is closer to Accra.
it's 1 day and 3 hours. So it's likely that if you are driving from Lome, you have to come to Accra. But let's just check.
So for we, Mali is closer because it's on the left side.
Yeah.
And Niger is closer to.
It's actually about the same. You can go through their northern corridor through Burkina Faso and into Bamako. So it's
Let me
about
read-
an hour difference.
Let me read something for you. So, basically, let me read 3 paragraphs of a document called Strategic Gateway, the Port of Lome's pivotal role in Togo's economic development. Along with above mentioned duties, the autonomous Port of Lome performed industrial and commercial
Why is it called
activities.
Autonomous Port of Lome? Anyway, go ahead. We'll discuss that later.
Hence, the port authorities in charge of the management of the port and maritime area, as well as the operation of the installations, ship piloting and towing, material and legal guard of the cargo, maintenance of lighthouse and beacons, etc. Additionally, it continues to handle several types of products. This goes without saying that Togo's economy is driven by the port of Lome, which is also the ideal transit point for landlocked nations like Burkina Faso, Mali, and Niger. The objective of the PL, which is the autonomous port, is to position itself as the logistics hub of West Africa. To do this, it has committed for decades to offering better quality of its services, modernization of its equipment and infrastructure, and improvement of its competitiveness and attractiveness. The only deep water port in West Africa. The Port of Lome benefits from ultra-modern facilities and equipment, which reduce vessel waiting times and the speed of embarkations and disembarkations. Thus, the port has become the hub of a vast distribution network, becoming de facto and de jure a leading port platform in the sub-region, which offers a range of unique and competitive port services. The Port of Lome is the only port on the coast of West Africa from which numerous cities may be accessed by road in a single day. Thanks to its strategic geographical position and its connectivity, the Port of Lome is the arm of the sea for the Sahelian countries.
Serious?
Yes. So that was the point.
You say it's the only deep water.
Port.
Wow. So they have a natural advantage over us.
Yes, obviously. And they have used it well. So
Charlie. So those who say Ghana has a better political something.
no, I don't think this is necessarily political.
No,
I
I'm
just
thinking.
think
No, I'm thinking. Don't forget. I'm thinking about. You see, don't forget the proposition. We are bringing one container. So this is we are bringing
Yes.
containers from China to West Africa, and we have to make a decision. Do we use Accra or Lome? From everything you are saying, they'll use Lome.
Use Ghana.
On what basis?
Well, patriotism demands.
No, it's the person doing the business, not a Ghanaian. It's a Chinese who wants to do business in Bamako.
Yeah, but better still, because we believe that we have a superior, democratic system. We have a judiciary that is able to, set the law right, not to the whims of somebody. No, all of those.
So by the way, what's happening in Togo? What's happening?
Okay, so Fonya Singbe, the president of Togo, has caused the country's constitution to be amended.
Hey.
You know that.
Yeah, so they should
until
prefer
recently-
Ghana now.
Until recently, it was a presidential system. Of course, they ran the parliamentary system previously too, but had a figurehead as president. But so when he became president, issues about him, manipulating the constitution, extending his term limit, these things kept happening. And at a certain point, they petitioned Ghana to help talk to him so that he will back down on further extension of his years in office. Recently, there was a further amendment to the party's, the country's constitution to now make it a parliamentary system. But in that arrangement, they have created the post of president of the Council of Ministers. Now, that post doesn't have a term limitation imposed on it. And what critics are saying is that by reason of that post, he has effectively rendered himself president for life in Togo, in which case it will be impossible to remove him from office. Yeah.
Okay.
So that is this situation. So, for instance, let me read for you this story from the BBC. New post for Togo leader could see him rule for life. The story is by Natasha Bouti and Will Ross. And they say on May 3, 2025, that the Togolese leader, Faure Gnassingbé, has been sworn in as quote and unquote president of the Council of Ministers, a new post which is the highest office in the government's executive branch and has no official term limits. Now, this follows constitutional reform that ended presidential elections and introduced a parliamentary system. I think they want to say a presidential system. Now, the opposition said the change was in order to allow President Faure Gnassingbé to stay in power indefinitely. Now, his family has ruled the country for 58 years. Faure Gnassingbé took over in 2025 from his father, Gnassingbé Yadema, who had ruled for almost 4 decades. Now, the latest change results from a new constitution approved by lawmakers last year, labeled by critics and opposition figures as quote-unquote institutional coup d'etat.
Wow.
Gnassingbé's government had paused some of the changes following huge backlash, but has moved ahead with his new role. Now, Togo's municipal elections in July will be the first under the new constitution, which has replaced the presidential system with a parliamentary one. Now, in theory, the role of President of the Republic is now only an honorary title.
Okay.
But analysts say Gnassingbé's power is more entrenched than ever with his new post of council president.
Interesting. All right, time is 8:46. Today's this intention is not to go too deeply into this. Just a couple of points to make to wrap up this segment. Caleb will read some comment for us on the port. I think that if Ghana wants to broach the subject of AFTA more meaningfully, it needs to develop the Eastern Corridor Road as the fastest route between Ghana and its northern neighbors, because from the things we read, it's much shorter. So 2 things it must do. The Eastern Corridor Road from Tema to Burkina Faso must be done. The rail that was started from Tema to Mpakadan must continue, whether they will use the water transport or whether they will find another route. But conveying goods from Tema to Mali, Burkina Faso, Niger, the Eastern Corridor is the best route to use based on the way the geography is. So that road must be prioritized and the rail must also be prioritized.
I agree with you, but there's also a political calculation to be made, because these matters have come up before in Parliament, and on the sides you hear pushback, particularly from constituencies bordering the current arrangement. So you're going through big areas like the Eastern region, the Ashanti region, and there's a lot of economic life depending on those transits. Do you understand? So if you move the vehicle from the major roads that go through Kumasi and Nkoko and these places, and you put them on the Eastern Corridor stretch, you are likely to divert traffic, which means that it impacts negatively the economic life you see in these.
But can you not do both? Because I can see how, fine, because Kumasi is big, some goods in transit may pass through Kumasi, and therefore, if you're going to say sending stuff to Ouagadougou, and you pass through Kumasi, because Kumasi is much bigger, you may be able to refuel and do certain things there. I understand that. But we are now talking about competing with Togo.
Yeah.
Okay, and you're saying if you want to get the Burkina market, you want to get the Bamako market, the shortest route is the Eastern Corridor. So you can still develop that too, and then also keep the Kumasi route.
Options.
Do you understand me? And then the real issue as well, now your rail from Accra to Kumasi doesn't work. But you've done a rail from Accra to Mpakadan. And Mpakadan you can do Mpakadan to Nkwanta, and then you can do Nkwanta to say Yendi. Then you can do Yendi to Tamale, or you can do Yendi to Zwarungu. So I feel like there should be a more concerted effort at, and you see, because as you said, Togolese, they don't have elections that much, so they don't think about votes. So what they do is they plan what they want to. You see, this is the problem now. So everything is about elections and votes and those things. They just basically decide that Togo is the port is 60% of our business. We are going to build the road to make sure that the goods can move, and they do it. We will go up and down, talk, and then we don't do anything. And at the end of the day, we are suffering, and people are smuggling. So I feel like the government needs to say, look, the Eastern Corridor has to prioritize, because it makes sense. Look, for the first time, Heritage Caravan used the Eastern Corridor in Kanasco money. We were much more efficient.
That's true.
We did much more in less time by using the Eastern Corridor route. We got to Bimbila, got to Yendi, connected to Tamale. It was a very short distance. Initially, we would have gone through Accra, Kumasi. It was too long. Now people are telling me Accra to Kumasi can even take you by public transport 6 hours. You get it? So you to reduce the traffic, you do the Western Corridor, Eastern Corridor, and the Central Corridor. So I'm not sure we should even politicize it.
Well, I mean,
or whoever tries to politicize it is not seeing the bigger picture.
Yeah, you see, I understand that, but the fact is that anytime traffic moves to the other side, it impacts economic life, and you know, there are people who naturally push back.
Oh, please.
If you have 300 Holly trucks moving through Kumasi every single day to get to Ouagadougou, Mali, Niger,
they should split that into two. Let 100 pass through Hohwe. Let another 100 pass through the Western Corridor.
I agree with that.
So that, you see, you develop holistically.
I agree with that.
It reduces the burden. See, it's the same thing as saying, if we say we do rail, somebody who eats from road will not eat again, so we shouldn't do it. It's the same thing. Because once you move traffic to rail, you are looking for efficiency. Once rail makes it efficient, at the end of the day, economic theory proves that we'll all benefit in the long run. If you put timber on rail, it's not the same as putting it on in fact, accidents are even lower. So look at the benefits of putting bauxite on rail versus putting it on a road. One of the reasons why the Western region has bad roads is that all the minerals that they export, they put it on the road. It doesn't make sense. So while somebody's truck business is doing well, it's a very short-termist view. You need to build rail, or you need to spread the traffic between the central, the eastern, and the western corridor. And I'm saying that this government has a big opportunity to do this. They have a 2/3 majority, all right? And even if it's political, most of their people vote and they're on that corridor. So what are they afraid of? I feel like a lot of times people don't want to just do the right thing, or maybe they don't think they have the money to do it. But I want to urge the new Ministry of Transport and Ministry of Roads, who is now in charge of rail transport as well. Yes. I think the diversification of our transportation is very, very essential. And the competitiveness of our port is linked to that, because if your port is even cheaper and the infrastructure to connect the goods from your port to another country is not there, people will use another port. So the port doesn't work in isolation. What will make our port attractive is that when the good comes to the port, the continuation of the goods journey from ship to road or rail is there. You get me? So I feel like this government has no excuse. They have to invest in making the Eastern Corridor a prime route, whether through Kwando or Hohwe, through Nkwanta, whether the ferry version. We didn't do the ferry. We used the Bimbila road. So you can go to, so you can do the Bimbila route or you can use the ferry. Both are equally legitimate. I think this government has no excuse in dealing with that. Number two, we have no business getting Togo to beat us. We have a bigger economy. We have per capita more qualified professionals. We have 32 million. Togo is like 11 million. We have a more diverse range of skills. Ghanaians have trained in many parts of the world, not just France, UK, US, China. We have a stronger middle class, a more vibrant civil society space. Togo should not be beating us on anything. With all due respect to them, they should not. They should not. And I think it's disgraceful for our ports to be so uncompetitive when you read all the data he's reading. I mean, no. And the president should give a benchmark that within X number of years, our ports must increase its efficiency by X factor so that the Sahel conversation will be more meaningful. Because if 60% of Mali, Niger, and Burkina Faso's goods come from Accra, if Muhammad tells them something, they'll listen. Do you understand? Because it's a relationship there. But if they have no use of you, why would they even mind you? What is Beblolate saying to Mali president if your goods are going through Togo and not going through Accra? You know, Mohammed's phone number must be on speed dial to the Malian president, because, like, no, this country is at the entry point for most of our things. And I feel like there has to be, this is the time to think about that, because right now the world is becoming divided. Nobody's very sure what US is doing. This is the best time to build those things, because, look, we don't know what will happen with the trade war. We don't know what it will mean for the price of goods from the rest of the world. We don't know. In the next 2 years, we all don't know. Usually when there's uncertainty, that's the time that you lean in and do what you have to do. So I think that the Mahama efforts around the sub-region should not only be aimed at peace. Last point I'll make. Ghana and Nigeria, we do a lot of trade between the two countries. Go to Circle. There are a lot of cars moving to Lagos. I've lived in Lagos for a month and a half. There's a big Ghanaian community there. I don't think we should wait for the echo. I think Ghana and Nigeria should start having a conversation about their two currencies and exchange. And I'll give you two reasons for this. You see, the echo will not work because the echo was born to fail. You can't have 13 or 12 countries having one currency. One large country, which is the biggest in the sub-region, having its own currency, and then a few other Anglophone countries trying to come together. It's not a good conversation. It's not like East Africa, where you have Tanzania, Kenya, Uganda, Rwanda. There's a certain equalness in force. There's a counterbalancing of power. In West Africa, it doesn't work that way. So the way the Francophones are tied to their CFA, I don't think they'll give that up for the ECO.
Oh, they say they are
No,
prepared to do that.
they will not. So this is what we should do. Ghana, and you see how PAPS is working. Ghana, Nigeria, Ghana, Sierra Leone, Ghana, Gambia have to begin a conversation about exchange so that the dependence on the dollar, because let's assume even 8% of our goods come from Nigeria. If we can have a more reliable conversation between the cedi and the naira, you don't need to go to dollar to get to naira. Do you understand? And if you don't, and that reduces the pressure on the cedi versus the dollar. Because if I'm bringing 6 containers from Lagos, and I can, because people can use cedi in Lagos. There should be a way in which you can use naira here in Ghana. There are many Nigerian food shops, okay, so that the dollar as the world's reserve currency, in my view, is not helping us. And with the way Trump is behaving, what's the name of Nigeria's president now? Tinubu and Mahama should have a conversation about how to enhance the relationship between the two countries in terms of our currencies exchangeability to reduce the dollar usage. Do you get it? If West African countries can exchange their currencies within each other on the PAPs, then if I'm going to Lagos, I don't need dollars. I should be able to get naira from Accra and go. Do you get it? And I should be able to pay cedis and they'll give me naira in a way that is sensible. So if we don't do these things, we'll never be free as a country, because the way the world system has been set up, we are the ones at the bottom of the pyramid. And if you are not, if you are too dependent on the macro policy of another country, let me give you a last example. When Janet Yellen in 2022 decided to raise interest rates in the US, it led to global chaos in about 1/3 of the world's countries. All our currencies depreciated because people started pulling their investments from here into the US because they were offering higher returns. So most small countries had their currencies collapse by a single action by one person in America. That's not a sustainable system. Which is why when we discuss these IMF things, we have to be very careful about not placing partisan considerations ahead of national considerations. Because, if our currency is so volatile and so dependent on what happens in the US, we will never develop.
Well, the BRICS guys are having that conversation and thinking of introducing their own currency. Ours has been on the table for some time now, the ECO, and the convergence criteria has been a problem. Economic inflation in one country is so high, in another country maybe they may be able to meet that. Then macroeconomic conditions, all kinds of things. How much are you spending on A, B, C, D? Differences in how to achieve the convergence criteria is the biggest problem.
Yeah.
But at the continental level too, there are efforts to move towards the adoption of a common currency. It's something that the heads of state have been, discussing. But again, it's a question of whether we are truly committed or we still want to maintain our individual, fiefdoms or chiefdoms, as the case may be. So you hear that, okay, Ghana, Nigeria should lead the way.
Yeah.
Ghana, Nigeria, South Africa should lead the way.
Yeah.
Ghana, Nigeria, Senegal should lead the way.
Yeah.
Recently, we're told that the Ivorians are thinking of completely throwing away the CFA franc and having their own arrangement with the rest of Francophone West Africa, and then that dovetailing into what we are doing generally as ECOWAS. Look, Bernard, it will require more than just talk on radio or at ECOWAS meetings or AU meetings. People have got to commit to the process of making it happen. That will mean that there are certain controls individual central banks have today that they must let go. Are we ready and prepared to set up an infrastructure similar to what the people have in Europe? Which is now, how do you even call it? The euro. Yeah, that's right. So they have a central bank that is responsible for execution of monetary policy to a large extent at a certain level, central level, for the whole of the euro.
So let me address that from history. So thank you for bringing the euro. The history of the EU tells us that the approach of Africa is wrong. and it's good you've raised it. ECOWAS is 50 years old.
This month.
Look, the Europeans didn't wake up one day and all of them together came together.
Yep.
It was France and Germany on the basis of steel exports and imports. They wanted to go with UK. UK was not prepared to let the pound go because they didn't want to tackle the issue of if you have Portugal, Italy, Spain, and Greek, these countries in the southern part of Europe, very volatile economies. We have to come to the EU at the Eurozone with different capacities. So France and Germany took the lead. My argument is that Ghana should start from bilateral position. Don't wait for, because when you have 15 countries on the table, you don't even know what you're discussing. Because they are all, you don't understand. But Ghana and Nigeria have a history of what they've done with each other for the past, at least for the past hundreds of years. All right? Even before colonialists came, people in Ashanti were going to Oyo. In fact, there are many ethnic groups in Ghana who trace their trajectory from Nigeria. So there's a shared history which is unquestionable. Colonialism notwithstanding. That's number one. Number two, a shared language. There's data and information about. Look, when I was in Legon, we used to do inter-university games with Nigerian universities. Ask Godfrey if I'm lying. There were about 3 Nigerian universities who would come. Ibadan used to come to Legon. Lotec, a couple more. So there's that relationship already. We used to sit in bus and go. They would sit in bus and come, sleep in Legon. So we have that relationship already. 3, there's a large Nigerian community in Ghana and there's a large Ghanaian community in Nigeria. I was in Nigeria. I went to Ajah. There are so many Ghanaians there. You can eat fufu. You can use cedis. There are so many Ghanaians in Nigeria. It's the same with what happened in Ghana. What I'm saying is that the 2 countries have challenges. But you see, there are some things you have to do irrespective of the challenges you face. Okay? Ghana and Nigeria, because of the traffic on the corridor, have to begin to make their currencies mutually tradable as a starting point. The cedi and the naira. That then reduces both of us our dependence on the US dollar. Then we can say, let's commit to certain trade agreements. It's a bilateral thing. Most economic zones start as bilateral agreements. It doesn't have to be multilateral. Because the African condition of 54 countries, it doesn't even make sense. But the same with the East Africans, he's lived there. The East Africans have found their way, despite all their quarrels. If you want to move from Mombasa to Dar es Salaam, it's very clear that it's much easier. They do a lot of trading. Kenya, Uganda, Tanzania, Rwanda. You were there. It's very clear that they've prioritized that sub-regional thing. ECOWAS will not work if Ghana and Nigeria don't work together. In an interesting way, President Akufo-Addo was more amenable to Cote d'Ivoire. All right? That is also useful. So he did the Ghana-Cote d'Ivoire cocoa thing, which is a good start. The 2 leaders have a certain chemistry which works. So I'm not saying that is wrong, but I think Nigeria is Nigeria is the knot that has to be untied for West Africa to function properly. And the most logical country for Nigeria to do anything with, even speaking from a Nigerian perspective, is Ghana. You can ask them. The most logical country for Nigeria to do anything with in West Africa is Ghana. Because even in Benin, a lot of the Nigerian smuggling problems stem from Benin. So Nigeria and Benin do not have such a great relationship. Nigeria and Cameroon, for some reason, but because of Bakassi, they are not on very good terms. Which is why in the Nigerian Civil War, they came to resolve the matter in Accra, in Ebri. There's a shared history there. It's very clear. Why did they make the president, the guest of honor at Mohammed's, Mohammed's inauguration? That relationship is there. So I am urging our economic ministries to initiate a conversation with their Nigerian counterparts on certain basic issues. Forget about this continental after talk with all the big meetings with no real commitment. Because once you have 54 people discussing trade, when they don't produce much, there's nothing going to come out of it. But we have an advantage. PAPS is already there. Even this morning, we read an LPM that if you want to send money to, they mentioned the countries.
Yes.
Okay. Somebody was asking me, why are you sending money to Djibouti? Well, Djibouti is a port. So maybe you have a container that has to pass through Djibouti before it gets to Suez Canal or come through.
Very important one.
So now people are sending money from Accra to Djibouti. You get it? So the approach of integration and collaboration and trade in 1975, with all due respect, does not work for 2025 with your PAPs. But I'm urging our Ministry of Finance, Ministry of Trade, Ministry of Transport and Foreign Ministry to initiate a meaningful conversation with Nigeria. In addition to what they are doing in Burkina Faso, Mali, and Niger, okay, Number two, the scope of Bevlolate's work must not just be security. It must also be economic. Because I think economics is the basis of some of these security arrangements. The fact that we depend on each other so much for trade, therefore we cannot afford to have instability because there will be too many businesses affected. I think that's a better way of going at it than to say, well, Ghana sentimentally have a relationship with Mali, Ghana, Guinea, Mali, so Mali come back. No. We should say most of your onions and your tomatoes are coming here and we need that arrangement. We need duty-free, quota-free arrangement because your citizens are also here. I feel like it should be driven by an economic imperative that will advance more than just a security conversation, if you follow my logic. So Nigeria, I don't know whether the Nigerian president is currently in a situation to do this because I don't know. I've been following Nigeria.
Domestic issues.
Too many
domestic issues.
Why?
Why can't he? I mean,
because
it's not like it's new. Nigeria has always been politically fragmented, you know. So
even with that, he cannot find solace in. Because you know
he cannot find solace in the sub-region at the moment because the concerns that he has back home are very, very big.
Are you serious?
Yes, he has to deal with the Delta State.
But he won the election so massively. There's no challenge.
Relations.
Okay, wait.
He has to deal with the economy.
Hold on.
Boko Haram is still...
There's so much for him to deal with.
He removed the subsidies on fuel. Mm-hmm. He's still in power.
Yes.
That was a big thing to do.
Yeah.
You can say that he's legitimate. He has legitimacy. He won the election fair and square, didn't he?
But albeit very controversial.
What I'm saying is that if you've been able to remove subsidies from fuel and you have at least 3 more years as president, he may be old, but his party is very solid. In fact, the opposition people are defecting his party.
Yeah.
This is the best time. He's in a stronger position than any Nigerian president since Obasanjo, in my view. Obasanjo is possibly the best they've had in like 30 years because the guy who followed was not that well physically. And then Jonathan Goodluck had too many problems. And then the soldier too, we don't know what happened. But this guy has the legitimacy. You know, it's a very serious discussion. And listeners, you know, a lot of times we discuss Ghana issues. If we don't put it in the West African context, we will not get the full picture. Which is why we seem to be diverting into the West African discussion as well.
You know, a lot of messages on this.
If you can read some for me.
I mean, when the euro was introduced, I mean, the FAC support, they claim that it spurs economic growth. So trading between the European, members themselves increased by between 5 to 20%, and thereby growing their GDP substantially. So the evidence supports what you're saying. The question is whether we'll be able to mobilize the necessary political kahunas to make it happen.
Sovereignty means too much.
Because somebody wants to be a central bank governor here in Accra. Somebody wants the federal bank governor.
No, but you don't have to give it up. You creating a West African central bank. There's already that arrangement.
Yeah, that's what I mentioned.
So
the deadline was supposed to be 2021.
I'll tell you something funny. The first time I actually saw our governor, this is like 12, 13 years ago.
Which of the governors? You mean Isiama?
Yes, he was seconded to YFM.
Yeah, West Africa.
You understand? West African Institute for something. He already knows the people in Nigeria a long time. There's a certain degree of autonomy you don't sacrifice. Because we are not, there are levels of integration. I think, this is what I see. I think a lot of the African countries, they are not listening to their own vision. They are too concerned about what external friends will think about what they are doing. I don't think they are very clear about what the future is for West Africa. It's more, hey, if I go and talk to this guy, am I sure that this person will not think I'm trying to do this? That's how I see it. Because what is there to fear about relating more intimately and strategically with Nigeria? Do you understand me? There's no, it's the right thing to do. There should not be, you don't need to look over your shoulder.
Well, they do look over their shoulders.
Why?
Nobody's trusting anybody in this sub-region for us to do this thing what us to do.
The same way they didn't trust Nkrumah's intention.
But wait, I'm asking a question. So you are telling me that you should trust Britain more than you trust Nigeria?
No.
Or you should trust America more or trust China more?
No. I'm not saying that. I'm just saying that those are the things that currently prevail.
Yeah, but that's what we should change.
We should be willing, as citizens, first of all, and then also as leaders, to forgo some of our rights, which we so much cling on to. For instance, we're still here talking, just quickly, we're still here talking about, we want integration. Nigerians should be able to come freely to, Ghana and engage in economic activity. Yet we are busy fighting. Exactly. We say, hey, come on, this space is reserved for Ghanaians. You can't go into that space. Yet we host them.
It's because we have not had. That's exactly what I'm saying. That because
in South Africa, they're chasing Nigerians. They're chasing Ghanaians.
I'm saying that's 1975 thinking.
No, it's still happening today. It's not like
we agree. I'm saying that
the thinking is old. The events are current.
The reason, there was an article Frema wrote recently about learning from Nigeria's playbook on their creative culture. We consume a lot of Nigerian movies, Nigerian music, but we also benefit from the relationship with Nigeria because a lot of our stars get drawn into the Nigerian economy because they need somehow if a Nigerian wants to go global, he will probably start from Ghana, get a Ghanaian collaboration, and he moves on to the US or whatever. I'm saying that you can also ride on that relationship to grow your own creative sector.
No, but you and I will agree that if Nigeria is perhaps the most protectionist of all the countries we have in the sub-region.
That is true.
Yes, and I'm saying that protectionism,
they have laws to bar foreigners from basically everything.
I understand
and they can close their border whenever.
I'm saying that of all the countries in the world that can penetrate Nigeria, Ghana has the best advantage.
That's true.
Because the Beninois, they don't trust
the best chance. Because
they don't
because Benin's economy basically survives on frauding Nigeria.
Good. And number two, they don't have a good relationship with Cameroon. Number three, a lot of their people are here. So what I'm saying is that for example, look at the growth of Nigerian banks out of Nigeria. After the banking reforms in the early 2000s, the first logical thing most of them did was to come to Ghana to establish. True or false? So even though they are protectionists, they know that Ghana has a strategic relationship for them.
But why aren't we there?
That's my point. Some of our people are there. What I'm saying is that
how big?
But I see, it's not a relationship of equals. You can also say that they
no,
come
because
here.
The banking rules of Nigeria will make sure that
give me 2 minutes. Nigeria has a bigger base, so they have more money, so they come set up in Ghana. Ghana has a more stable educational system, so a lot of Nigerians come to school here. So whilst they may be benefiting from your economy by banking here, you are benefiting because you are an attractive haven for their students. Yeah. So you don't go into trade to say we'll do the same thing. You can't say that. So reciprocity does not mean that they set up a bank, I set up a bank. But you can say that for them, banking is strategic. So for them setting up a bank here, you can say education is the anchor you want to use. So what I'm trying to say is that you don't approach this by saying you set up a bank, I set up a bank. You set up a business, I set up a business. It doesn't work like that. You look at what you can do and what they can do and find out how you can maximize both. So they set up, we set up educational institutions. They come here, they come in school here in the hundreds. Real estate, a lot of the real estate here, they come. In fact, a landlord will tell you that if a Nigerian wants to come and rent your house, you pay more than a Ghanaian will pay. So usually it even distorts our real estate market. If you think about structuring it, you see, you always start from what you have.
But that this is a threat.
Good, unregulated, not well thought through is a threat. But the fact that there's money from Nigeria that wants to pay school fees in Ghana, that wants to buy houses in Ghana, should not be lost on us. So if you leave it the way it is, it distorts the market. If you put structure around it and you put rules around it, do you understand? It's like the banking sector. I am saying that Nigeria is protectionist, we agree. But based on the cultural relations between the two countries, we have to initiate a conversation. And say that you guys, most of your people are here. So why are you so protectionist to us? Because even some of the things that are being done here in the name of Ghana, it's your people who are doing it. You get it? When you make that pitch, then there can be a conversation about how do we, and I think that this exchange between the cedi and the naira is long overdue.
Well, I think
Ben, can I ask you a question?
I'm listening.
You know, I don't think Ghanaians have a positive view of Nigerians, right? Mm-hmm. I don't think we talk about them in a flattering manner
at all.
If this is how Ghanaians think about Nigerians, is your project ever going to get off the ground?
Yes.
If basically, Ghanaians don't want to do anything.
I'll tell you. No, hold on. East Africa. East Africa. Kenya and Tanzania don't get along, but they have the common sense to know that there's still business between the two of us. So business is not based on I like you necessarily. It's based on we both need to survive on this relationship. It's like two people who are married to one man in a house. They don't have to like each other, but they have to collaborate. Do Do you understand? Because if they don't collaborate, the man will be lost to a third person.
It sounds like a plot of a bad Nigerian movie.
No. But let me explain. Look, Japan and China, they do a lot of business together.
But they don't like each other.
That's the point. Yeah. And I even think that Ghana not having a good view of Nigeria is really based on who you are talking to at what level. Because at the very elite level, they do business very well. Abroad, when you go to any big school in America or UK, his friends were Nigerians. Yeah. So that's my point. So at the basic level of in our communities, the Nigerians have come and that kind of thing. But and do you know why that happens? When there's lack,
they always distort the market.
When there's lack, there's mistrust. Usually, when you all get to a certain level, when you were in China, you are studying at the university. Both of you, your parents have paid your fees.
Sufficiency.
Do you get it? You don't even worry too much about the Nigerian. It's at the basic level of Newtown. Hey, this Nigerian boy, he's doing this. He's chasing my girl. Those are the things they do.
They distort the market.
I am saying to you that the camaraderie that exists between the two countries at the global diplomatic level is much higher. Yeah. So you see, if we don't look, as we speak this morning, we are not even sure what is happening in Burkina Faso. Because even though we are physically next to them, culturally, we don't have a daily news that tells us what happens in that country. In fact, if you listen to even our news, most of the time our international news tells you what's happening in Nigeria. It doesn't tell you what's happening in Burkina Faso. Isn't Burkina Faso closer? When was the last time I heard news about Cote d'Ivoire? There's a major issue in Cote d'Ivoire. Their main presumptive opposition leader is being barred from running and going to election. It's not even hit on the Accra, Ghana radar. It may be an issue in Senegal. But it's not a big issue here in Accra. Because for us, it's Ghana, Nigeria, the rest of the world. My point is, you cannot just look at that relationship and allow it to go. Nigeria right now may be invited to BRICS. BRICS is almost like the alternative to the OECD countries. Brazil, Russia, India, China, South Africa. Nigeria may join. There's no reason why we shouldn't initiate a conversation for a new bilateral trade arrangement. For the longest time in my journalistic life, the UK was trying to get economic partnership agreements between we and them and the Europeans and us. And my question is, what about we and the Nigerians? What about we and the South Africans? What are EPAs? Why is it that it's only Western countries that always initiate discussions about our economy? Why aren't we even thinking about what we can do?
Yeah, because we are fragmented. So that's why I take the view that if we are approaching, say, the UK, the US on basis of trade, and we want to negotiate trade deals, it should be the whole of the African bloc representing Africa, as opposed to Ghana should go and do its own thing.
Yeah. But if Ghana and Nigeria don't have, if Ghana and Nigeria don't know what they are doing together, how on earth can Africa together go and negotiate against the UK?
Have the AFTA.
You don't get it. To get to AFTA, you must do bilateral in blocks. So do Ghana, Nigeria, do Anglophone and Francophone, do West Africa. Then when you do West Africa, you do West Africa and East Africa. Then do so COMESA, ECOWAS, SADC. That's how to create. You don't start and say, let's go and meet at
that was the original
54 countries. How are you going to do 54 countries? Nobody cares about anybody in any other part. So you start with Nigeria, then Nigeria and you do Gambia and Sierra Leone and Liberia. From there you meet the Francophone bloc. From there you come as West Africa and meet the East Africans.
They gradually separate.
Yes, that's the way it works everywhere.
But here, let's take.
That's what history teaches us.
We are 50 years into ECOWAS.
Yeah.
This month. 50 years.
Yes.
You think these conversations, and basically we've had 50 years to go over what you're saying, to reflect, to trust each other more, to find common grounds, to be able to start and say, you are the two big boys there, you can start. It's been 50 years of back and forth. It's never happened. And so many issues come into play. One, suspicions. Two, the unreliability of the political system. Because today you have a favorable president in Nigeria, a favorable president in Benin or somewhere in Cameroon. Tomorrow, you have another president who doesn't think the same way and wants to destabilize the other country. You understand? So
there should be a permanent. There should be a Ghana-Nigeria permanent commission, a Ghana-Nigeria permanent meeting twice a year to flash out this. There must be. See, we wait till Westerners tell us what to do. We have to proactively have. If you institutionalize it, whoever president comes knows that as Ghana president, this is what I have to do with Nigeria. Whether it's Buhari or it's Eyadema or whoever.
ECOWAS was institutionalized.
ECOWAS is different because ECOWAS, you see, ECOWAS is not as bread and butter. You don't get me. ECOWAS is always like some pipe dream. It's far.
Yeah, but
Because how many Ghanaians go to Guinea? How many Ghanaians think about which other countries in
Ghana's
ECOWAS?
everywhere.
No, you don't get
The
it.
sub-region.
You start with what is evident and then you move into what is possible.
Let's take if you go to a country like Equatorial Guinea, the number of Ghanaians that prop up that economy in terms of construction, in terms of there are so many aspects of the economy that is reliant on Ghanaians going there and coming back. But we speak two totally different languages. The cultures are completely different. If you go, it's like when I went to Equatorial Guinea, it was like, apart from the fact that I was seeing black people,
There was nothing.
there was nothing that I could relate to.
But it's not the
They
same as
drink beer
Nigeria.
at 7 a.m. in the morning. In Ghana, who is opening a bar for you to drink beer at 7 a.m. in the morning? It's standard.
Which is
Country
why
this?
that's why I'm saying that
Equatorial Guinea.
ECOWAS in this current state will not work.
Yes, but that's the point I'm making to you, that you see, we need to get over our political differences first and become politically more mature. If the political maturity does not come, these ideals that we have discussed, that we are aspiring towards, and the conversations that we are having about Ghana and Nigeria have very friendly terms, okay? But there have also been significant periods of historical hostility between the two.
Of course.
It changes when, again, based on who is there. And until until political maturity grows. Well, look, when we say we'll do the common currency, ECO, we're chasing a single convergence point. Today, this one, Togo says this. Tomorrow, Ghana says this. Nigeria says this. Or even the commitment to ratification of common protocols is based simply on who is in charge of one country or the other.
Yes.
Okay, so that until you give the examples of Tanzania and Kenya and all, I think they've been able to overcome some of those differences based largely also by the existence of a common language and sections of their culture being very similar to one another. You understand? If you go to the South African side as well,
Yeah.
they have similarities in a lot of aspects. Ghana and Nigeria might have similarities in some things, but perhaps the country that is Ghana is most similar to, the two countries might be Benin and Togo, who are francophone countries.
What do you mean similarity between Ghana?
We have a common language, don't we? They speak Fon in Benin.
Yeah.
There are a lot of Beninois people who understand what somebody from the Volta region will say.
Yeah.
There are a lot of people in the Volta region who basically have families
In Togo.
who go back and forth. So the cultural interaction between the two countries is actually even more than how we relate towards Nigerians.
I disagree.
Between those two.
At some level, you are right, but overall, Ghana and Nigeria is more culturally related than Ghana and Benin and Togo.
How so?
Because beyond the familiar relationship between, say, Evers in the three countries, generally speaking, I give you many examples of this. Globally, when you go to our elite, the Ghana-Nigeria playbook is more well defined than the Ghana-Togo or the Ghana-Benin playbook.
Yeah, that's what you see, the playbook is defined by big business.
Yeah.
Okay, it's defined by big business.
But that's what should drive the integration.
But the big business is suspicious
of each other.
which is why
Which is why you should meet regularly and talk about it.
Which is why the big business stay in each other's countries.
Fair enough. Let's read some comments and then
Caleb,
we'll come
over
back
to you.
to that. All right, so we started off with a challenge
Yes.
with my shipment. And then we spoke about the port competitiveness. Let me read something that somebody who is
In the space.
in the industry said, "Hi Bernard, the road network from Lomé to the northern part of Togo is far better and in better condition than we have here in Ghana. It's also shorter from Lomé port to Burkina and Mali and Niger than from Tema. Also, the checkpoints, they are not always in place except for some major ones. Lomé port offers a better trade route to the landlocked countries. Even with Bamako, Mali, I prefer to use Lomé port for all my shipments. It's faster and still cheaper than when I have to use Tema. Their port operations flow is faster and more effective."
Wow.
And this person is a shipping person in the industry
Okay.
who is volunteering this information. Let's read a few more.
So, Bernard, what you are talking about is called variable geometry in regional integration. It says, so someone has, Elom Mauli Kwau has actually done a paper on this variable geometry and technocratic automaticity.
Can you send it to me to read?
Yes, I'll share. Alternative approach to African economic integration.
Correct.
So that came through from my friend Karim. He shared that with me as well. I'll let you have it. The cars are registered in Togo and driven to Ghana with Togo registration and used as such in Ghana. They go back yearly to renew the registration of the cars, thereby avoiding the payment of duty. What Council Richard Delasky is saying on car smuggling and the chassis issue is correct. But in the long run, customs preventive unit arrest them because there are some of the chassis numbers hidden that you don't know or cannot see, but the preventive unit know.
Okay.
Bernard and team.
Yes.
I think Togo port operations are different from Ghana's. For instance, when an agent or importer ship items from Togo arrive, the Togo authorities allow the agent or the imported items to so they allow the agents to open the containers and sell the items before paying the charges. But at the Ghana port, is the other way. Bernard, can you imagine that Togo port where vessels berth, it's very small, but Ghana's port is the biggest in West Africa. I think Ghana's port authorities need to enhance the system to smoothing the process and business operations. Good morning to you guys. Mr. White from, I think we've skipped that, boss.
I think you have to go up.
I beg you, please. Mr. White from Sakumono Total says, having more money than Togo cannot properly manage.
Having more money than Togo,
but cannot properly manage to develop the country does not mean another country who has better managed their few or little cannot do better than us. Okay.
Yeah, he was saying this in reference to me saying that
Precisely.
we have more resources than
We should do
Togo,
better than
so they should
Togo.
be beating us.
Incidentally, the report suggests that it's only Togo that has been meeting the ECHO convergence criteria.
Oh, you are serious?
yes, they are the ones who have been meeting it.
They have been meeting the convergence criteria.
The issue of smuggling exposes the failures of ECOWAS. Car smuggling, for example, is rampant because of import tariffs. You pay approximately 45,000 cedis to import and register a vehicle in Lome, while in Tema, you pay over 100,000 Ghana cedis. Are we not all citizens of ECOWAS? The only way to overcome smuggling is to have a flat rate import tariffs across the sub-region. Good morning, Bernard. Ghanaian ports are safe in terms of security issues than the port of Lome. Bernard, the Francophone train tracks are different from that of the Anglophone train tracks in West Africa, therefore making it difficult to link both Ghana and other Francophone countries. There's a train track all the way from Niger to an abattoir in Abidjan where you can get cheap prices for cattle and other livestock. Trust me, the night market there is amazing.
So
you
you
go
see,
chew meat, sir, your jaws go drop.
We've sat down for French
French and
countries
British to fight.
to link their rail, and then they deliberately don't want us to be able to send our goods to Togo, and we've sat down for 60 years and kept that. Charlie, and you are saying we will never solve our political problems. We can't deal with such issues because this is common sense. You get it? You sit down and say because the Togo is French, you do a different system from theirs. How? Meanwhile, there are Francophone countries all over you, so you probably adopt their system so that your rail will be the same as theirs because your goods are going. Do goods speak English?
Your money no catch.
Oh, Charlie, you have to insist on certain things. How do you set up a rail system that doesn't connect you to Burkina Faso? Will you jump over Benin and Togo before you get to Nigeria?
Well, I guess it's the issue between standard gauge.
Yeah, standard in those things.
Our leaders need to think about the future in a different way.
Well, you see,
So
the
basically,
different
you are
things-
saying that if as we are developing, with the development of our rail system,
We should think about-
have thought
yeah.
about, okay, what does Togo do?
Yes.
What does Benin do?
Yes.
What does these ones do?
Yes.
How can we?
Because there's a Trans-West Africa. There's a Lagos to Dakar. Government. There's a Lagos to Dakar corridor. If that's for road, doesn't common sense tell us that there must be a Lagos to Dakar rail too?
You know,
The
I
interesting
want to
thing is
mention
that
something about this.
within the European zone,
They
you
have-
can sit on a train and
Yeah,
go
all the
to
way.
You see,
spot.
we know what we do is that when we go to school abroad, we think that life is living in Europe. We don't have the common sense to know that transportation between Lagos and Dakar is part of our development. No, it's serious. So we when we get money, we don't think about spending it here. We go and live in America or UK. Instead of developing our infrastructure so we can also move along the same border. And so the school we go is not helping us. We are just using the school to advance other people's interests.
You know, the thing is, you are right. You should be thinking about some of these things. But like, at the same time, because they have a whole integrated economy with their CEFA and that kind of stuff, they are forced to think that way. They don't have a choice, because if they say they want to think differently, you'll be disadvantaged in that economic zone.
Which is why we
have
must
our independent things.
See, let's take that point. They have been forced by accident of colonialism to work together as West African francophones.
Because there was even one colony at first.
Not a problem. We are Ghana, and we know that our port is where at least 3 countries depend on, in addition to Togo. So we in our thing shouldn't be insular. We shouldn't say we are Ghana, we can do what we like. No, we should be able to say, look, we depend on them, they depend on us. You get it? And I'm saying that this one is even, it should be administration agnostic. We should be able to say Ghana has a strategic relationship with Mali, Niger, and Burkina Faso when it comes to travel routes. So our rail that is taken out from Accra, to Tamale, to Bolga, should be able to integrate the Burkinabe one seamlessly.
I agree.
This is not something that you should go and even have a debate in parliament about. It's just common sense. You get it? Because what's the point in having a rail that will only terminate in Bolgatanga?
But that goes back to Godfrey's point that we don't want to take away our sovereignty, because we are thinking what's the best rail system for us in Ghana.
But that's binary thinking.
But it's also a question.
That's the point. That's what is showing
let's use the platform to condemn that wrong thinking.
Oh, that one.
That level of thinking will not take us anywhere.
But you admit that it would also require then a complete overhaul of the rail infrastructure as we inherited it from the Brits.
But you've had 60 years to do that.
Well, that's so that question is there, but it's also a question.
If you make it a policy that we will not build a rail system which cannot be linked to the West African sub-region as a policy.
Yes.
Anything you invest or whoever wants to invest in rail,
I agree with you.
You see, we've just been lazy. I think so. We've just been lazy. It's not because this one I've not even gone to school to read it. It's just common sense. This is not something you have to go to real school to read. It's just common sense that if you are going to depend on another country for your goods, you must be able to move your goods on the same system. Simple.
Bernard, the Sahelian states of Mali, Burkina Faso, and Niger have expressed strong interest in using Moroccan Atlantic ports to gain access to the sea for their trade and economic activities. This follows Morocco's initiative launched in December 2023 to provide these land-linked countries with maritime...
Landlocked countries.
Yes, I was actually told that there's a new thing where they say land-linked instead of landlocked.
Okay. You did geography, so you know.
So it's, yeah. So this follows Morocco's initiative launched in December 2023 to provide these land-linked countries with maritime access via its ports, particularly as these Sahel states face trade sanctions from ECOWAS and have withdrawn from the regional bloc to form the Alliance of Sahel States. When this happens, Ghana stands to lose a substantial amount of goods destined for the Sahelian pass through the Tema port, Isifu, Ishola.
So we should move quick. We shouldn't wait for Morocco.
That you see, we should be on matters like this, we should be speaking with one voice. You see,
No,
that is the same way the Americans and then the Brits and the
Sahara
Europeans divide us.
Yeah.
You know, if we don't have a common position, Morocco can offer something.
But I know Morocco has been trying to join ECOWAS.
Yes, but what I'm saying is at the continental level, if we are sanctioning La Côte d'Ivoire, we should sanction them as a bloc. And you know, this whole idea that ECOWAS can do its own thing and sort of the continental body is sort of removed. That is why Morocco will be offering something because we, the West Africans,
we are divided.
It's a problem.
You are right.
Greetings, Bernard.
Greetings.
I've noticed that food prices are lower in Togo, likely due to their policy of exporting only surplus food items. For the past 15 years, food prices and transportation fares have remained the same. I use 2 cents to buy beans, gobe, for 3 of us to eat and
That's
be
10
satisfied.
cents.
Yes. However, I've also observed smuggling activities along certain routes, including the road from Togo through Woodwaba, Diamond Cement, Penyi, Woodwaba. Okay.
Penyi, which is near Georgia.
Right. Boglu enclaves, Petwe, Nyevi, and up to Nive, right.
And up to the northern parts of Ghana and Togo.
Unfortunately, some SEPS officials and police officers seem to be involved in these smuggling syndicates. Additionally, fuel smuggling has been reported from Abeliakofa. Okay, Abeliakofa Beach. Abeliakofa Beach to Togo, where the sea is concerning to see such activities taking place around Abeliakofa. This is Kwame from Denu. Sky, is it Denu or Denu?
Denu.
Last time Bernard and Sames finished me here. They say it's Denu.
Charlie, you are not here.
They finished me.
We dirty the boy. You was right.
Good morning, gentlemen.
Good morning, Caleb.
I got into your program midway, and as such, I'm not too sure of all the issues you've touched on regards the importation. However, my concern is about security at our ports these days. A large number of containers have been reported missing at our ports. Indeed, I hear there are drastic reductions in our containers transiting through our ports to these other countries. I believe we need to look at some of these impediments that invariably affect our competitiveness in the sub-region. Alpha from Obodankadi.
Thank you, Alpha. We take that point in good faith.
Bernard, please, you go to the port and see things for yourselves. Custom officers,
GPHA
staff and national security men frustrate importers if you don't allow them to take some of your items you are clearing, by delaying you for 2 days or more. They will tell you is the system is off. The officer has spare parts shops. People have a lot to write, but you guys read only messages that
that's not true.
No, that's not true, William, I just read your message. Yes. We can argue that Mr. Easy began his career over here, and Amare has broken into the Nigerian entertainment sector. I agree with Bernard. Of all the flaws in our relationships with Nigeria, they are allies. Jude here, not Duncan.
I need to comment an article. You see, guys, before you go on, Firma wrote an article which I think is a good one to read in relation to the cultural issues, and this is a good text that highlights that. Yeah. What I'm saying is that there is a lot going on for us if we align with Nigeria in the creative space. We can ride on their success and get a space of some of the African.
Would they allow you to ride?
What I'm saying that the way they even do their things tells you that sometimes they even carry Ghana along. Sometimes
they carry Ghana along if it suits what the person is doing at that point, but that's a matter of policy.
Yeah, that's their interest.
That's what I'm saying.
I'm saying that
we should remove those barriers.
You see, you should think about it as a possible stepping stone to use. It's like some big man going somewhere, you are following him. You can benefit from that relationship. That's what I'm saying. And number two, the way they've gone about their expansion, the way their songs are
very deliberate.
Yes, we can learn some things from that too.
Many experts will argue that they came to learn from us.
But they scaled it up because they are a bigger market, which is why I feel like we have nothing to lose in initiating a conversation which is very targeted. So there can be a meeting. Like Sky, when was the last time there was a bilateral meeting where Minister of Trade, Minister of Finance, Foreign Affairs Minister
of the two countries
are sitting face by each table and they are discussing what to do? That's what we should do. We always wait. We do it to the Japanese, we do it to the Americans, we don't do it to our neighbors. Why do we think it's not necessary that now that there's a new administration in Ghana, there should be, it should be institutionalized.
Proper bilateral.
I think they should create a Ghana-Nigeria permanent commission.
Just like we have with the cocoa thing with La Côte d'Ivoire.
Yes, the Côte d'Ivoire was great. The guy who was running the cocoa thing, he's a fantastic guy. He speaks English and French, highly educated guy, and he can give you, in fact, if you have any misunderstanding about the chocolate industry, brilliant guy. It's called Asanvo. He's Ivorian. So the point is that the guy is Ivorian, but the thing is based in Ghana.
Yeah.
He speaks both English and French. And he tells you the relative alliance of the two countries. I think that was a good thing. We should do the same with Nigeria. We should, honestly. I think it's too late. It's not too late.
There's a message here. Ghana must respond decisively and without delaying. Now is the time to forge a strategic full-scale partnership with the Sahel countries to develop a transformative railway line from the port of Tema directly into the heart of the Sahel region.
Good.
This ambitious project should be a joint venture between Ghana and its Sahelian neighbors, designed to deepen regional integration and unlock vast economic potential. By opening the project to competitive international bidding, and setting a clear completion timeline of 5 to 8 years, Ghana and the Sahel countries can ensure efficiency, transparency, and world-class execution. A consortium of contractors can be formed to deliver on this scale and vision.
Wonderful.
The rewards for Ghana will be immense. Greater trade volumes, increased port activity, enhanced geopolitical influence, and long-term economic growth. Ghana stands to benefit even more than the
landlocked nations like this.
If this bold vision
If I am president of Togo today,
Yeah.
and you
This is
Ghana,
the-
Ghana,
this is the-
Ghana
this
is
is the
sharing.
intention behind it.
Ghana is sharing
From-
this
from
brilliant.
Andy, by the
Yeah,
way.
I'm saying Ghana has this brilliant idea, and I'm president of Togo.
Yes.
You expect me to be happy
No, it's not.
when
it's-
60% of
it's,
my
it's,
economy
it's not a zero sum
pass
game.
through it?
It's not a zero sum game
No,
because
if
you can
you do direct, I will lose.
you can make the case that trade volumes are going to increase and not one port can handle it. The fact that Ghana can export goods to Bamako does not mean Togo will also not benefit. You see, when we perceive things from a point of once Ghana and these people are talking means I suffer, that's what leads to the suspicion.
So why doesn't Ghana do something else?
No, but in addition to, because why? There are specific things that we buy. For example, we buy tomatoes from Niger. Maybe the Togolese don't need it. We buy onions from Burkina. Maybe the Togolese don't need it. So my point is that the fact that we are enhancing our relationship with the Sahelian three does not mean that Togo will be destroyed forever. It's that kind of thinking that makes people always want to undermine each other. We have shared interests. Do you understand? So for me, it's a question of expanding the options. There's nothing wrong with that.
Yeah, but I'm just saying that. I'm just trying to also let you understand how.
And by the way,
romantic is.
what can Togo do to even stop it? Yeah, like what can they do to even stop it? No, but I'm saying that no. The point you're making is no, but you can't say that because if it's like saying that I cannot initiate a relationship with another country because Togo will feel threatened. I actually need to tell Togo that this is the base for what I'm doing.
No.
Or do you want to join?
Maybe Togo will drop their import duties once.
Yeah, but that's not it. That's part of the game. The question is, what are we doing to secure our future? Because we know that Benin, isn't Burkina too our neighbor?
Must we be thinking as individuals, or we must think as a group?
You can think as a group, but you begin bilaterally.
You see,
And I'm saying that the EU people, when they wanted to form the European Economic Commission, they call it
Is it a
economic
conflict?
No, it's not. The Europeans wanted to do the same thing we are doing, and the thing was not working. So they started as Germany and France,
long after we had initiated ours.
and that's what I'm saying. That when they started, the others were not interested, but when it began to work, other people joined. So don't wait for everybody to agree.
Yeah, but you see, the point I'm making is that all these things get undermined, as Godfred is saying, by individual national interests.
Yes.
Right? So that is the
Me
biggest.
for sitting in my somewhere.
You see, so
Ghana is planning this. I think I'll be smiling with you.
So wait. Are you what? Every action you take, somebody will react to it. You need to calculate and say two things. Let's assume Togo has a misunderstanding of what we are doing with the other
maybe
countries.
conflict is a way.
You need to go and explain to Togo first that this is what I want to build.
Come on, guys.
I want to link my country to this.
Guys.
Now when it happens, I know that at the moment you are the dominant player. So in order for that to happen, you must have a conversation. You see, I think that
Let's take a break.
what you are suggesting makes sense. We must find out ways of plugging into one another. I don't doubt that, but I am also telling you that the nature of politics and economics is such that as soon as Ghana says that, our established idea is that in 8 years we will be the main route for Mali, Burkina Faso, and Niger because we are closer, and starts investing in that, you will lose a semblance of your friendly relationship with Togo because
But Togo also needs us for other things. So Ghana deals with America, but
yes.
Ghana also deals with China. America and China may not be best friends, but America will not say don't talk to China because I'm talking to you. At that same level, you can talk to Niger and Burkina on certain arrangements and also have certain things you do with Togo that also benefits them. The way the world works, that's how it is.
But
I'm saying that
they have their own self-interest.
Yeah, but that's what I'm saying. So
It's not depending on what they do with Ghana.
So the fact that Togo will not be too happy with you does not mean you shouldn't do it. To the extent that you're not breaking a law and you are not undermining them. No, there's no law that says that a country can.
What is the conflict between what do you call it, Egypt and Ethiopia now? They have decided to
they're
build a
down.
dam, right?
Yeah.
Guys.
I'm even going to give a lot
No.
Let me tell you something. A major conflict, economic conflict between Kenya and Tanzania. Do you know what it was over? Milk and cigarettes.
Over what?
Who sells more milk and cigarettes
To each other.
No, who passes through where to cause what?
No problem. So you so
Milk and jot.
that don't even confuse me. I'm saying that you have determined that
One
the
says
Sahel.
that
Okay,
you have too
wait.
Too much milk.
Godfrey.
And that you passing the milk here.
Godfrey.
impacts me.
Does-
I'll let you pass.
Does
I'll
Togo,
let you bring the milk
does
here.
for Nyasingbe have a special envoy to Niger, Burkina, and Mali?
Well, not that we know of.
Good. Have they
It
reacted
doesn't
to?
need to.
So if we have set up a whole Bevlo Latte to be our special envoy to those 3 countries, nobody in West Africa has said that this is a threat to me. Are you saying that on the back of that you cannot discuss other potential infrastructure projects on the basis that somebody will be angry?
No. I don't think so. The point I am making
How
is that
does that fit into the general ECOWAS suspension of the 3 countries?
Yeah,
You know,
but,
that-
but,
so-
they,
so
but
the
ECOWAS
other
came,
countries will
ECOWAS
also
came
be
to
doing-
launch their
you
50th
make your point.
anniversary here,
Yes.
and they didn't berate Mahama for initiating
Well, we
talks.
don't know what may be happening behind the
because the attempt to bring them back into ECOWAS is a noble attempt.
Yes.
So nobody who
Everybody wants them back.
Yes. So nobody in his right mind who, in fact, they should
Everybody
commend him. And I'm saying that riding on the back of that, he can also earn some brownie points and say, look, guys, we can do. In fact, he can even use the promise of economic cooperation to lure them back. He can use that.
It has to be within the general ECOWAS and the AU framework.
But this ECOWAS functioning.
It's functioning. Why didn't we celebrate 50 years?
You just told me that somebody has decided to change constitution to make something. How is that functioning? Oh, Maza, stop that.